Hi guys, welcome to Manhood Explained. My name is Camille. Today is 15th of August 2020. Welcome to video number 232, I think. Today I want to talk about kind of interesting subject. And when I thought about it, I thought it would be funny to talk about it because I want to talk how languages, and in this particular case I'm going to talk about programming language, although it might be towards like normal languages, foreign languages, how they will be able to explain why a relationship fails. And let me explain with a very short story. Years ago, when I started to work in one of the companies that I worked for years, I've decided that I started working. Cool. So let me try to. I wanted to go to university and do the degree, so I'll have high education. So I went there and I spent 3.5 years doing an engineering bachelor's degree. But I don't know if there's a difference in US. It is in Poland, so there's a specific one for the engineers. And I basically spent 3.5 years there doing a lot of things. I did something with the OSs, with the operating systems, with networks, with programming, physics, whatever. And one of the things that I had no experience in, it's really programming. I never was a programmer, and I never really, become a programmer after all of that. But one of the requirements it was to learn C sharp, which is Microsoft implementation of C++, objective language. And I said to myself, well, I have to pass it somehow, even though I didn't really wanted to learn that. But I said, well, let's just try it out. And so I tried to program in this, and I spent some time because one of the toughest exams was from this programming language. So I learned a lot, try to memorize as much as I can. But out of this whole experience going through all of that, I basically, because I tried to, if I could, use what I've learned on my university in my workplace, I ended up writing a small program that is, as far as a few years ago when I met with my old pals from the team, it was still used. So I would not be surprised if it's still used right now in like production level deployments and changes that are done on the servers in this company. So even though it was like really small program, it worked. So that was kind of interesting kind of development out of this, that I was able to write a program which is used in a huge company. But then years had passed. I stopped having any contact with this language, and to be exact, with most of the programming languages, and I just forgot about everything that I learned. And few months ago, I had a company that wanted to. They contacted me because they needed server administrator, but they need someone with programming skills. So I talked to them and I said, really, I'm not really a programmer, but but they said, let us test you. So they sent me a test that I was able to do at home, and there were like two or three things, three exercises to write programs in. And I did the one that I used until I did the one that I had to use in a shell programming language that I use until today. But then the next two I could choose, but I was not able to use the one that I really knew and I use until today. And one of the options was C sharp. And I look at it and I say, I think I'm not gonna get that job because they really look for for a programmer. But when I picked C sharp, I thought about it. I was able to go through that. I was able to pass one of the toughest exams on my university. I was able to write a program which is used in my old company. But now someone is asking me to write like a very simple thing. I have completely no clue how to even start. And this kind of takes us to the relationship, and why this kind of situation explains like why most of our relationships are failing. If they're probably failing because of that. First, the thing that you need to understand is that if you don't use programming language, or I don't know, maybe you've learned German or French or something, if you're not using the language, you forget about it. And then you're just not able to do the things that you were it was so easy for you to do. The same thing happens with your relationship. If you don't pay attention to your girl, if you don't pay attention to what's happening in her life, well, how she's doing, exactly the same thing was going to happen. Because at the beginning, you put in like 100% of your attention to her. You wanted to know what's going on in her life. You wanted to be involved. You were able to, to do whatever was needed to help her with whatever she was struggling with. You wanted to be with her all the time. But then you got into the relationship. Time passes and everything is just like, yeah, it becomes casual. And you stop paying attention and you stop caring. And then just like with, my C-sharp language, just like maybe in your case with German, French, or Spanish, you just lose the ability to use that language to communicate. The same thing happens with your girl. That's why it's so, when it all becomes to crumble, it's so hard, even though it was so easy some time ago. The point number 2 that you need to understand is, if you try to do something about it, and then you start trying to get back to the state that you were like some time ago, it's going to frustrate you. Maybe if you had experience, because I never tried to get back to like programming in C#, I just thought about it, I'm just not going to be able to do it, I just put it aside. But maybe like in my case, I didn't play guitar for a long time, or maybe you had the same experience with your favorite game. You're so good at it, and then you start playing that game after a few months or a year of not playing it, and you're terrible. You start to play, you just launch the game, you say, oh, that's gonna be so awesome, and then you see how lame you are right now, and you say, oh my god, it's so frustrating. The same thing happens in your relationship. You try to get back to the state that you both were some time ago. You want this thing to flow. You want this chemistry to come back, but it just not there, and it makes you mad, both of you, because it annoys you that it was there but it's not anymore. And then point number 3, when it drives you nuts that you're not able to make progress in it. And if it prolongs in time, exactly the same thing will happen, like whether you're playing your favorite game, playing the guitar, trying to use the language that you used so many years ago. You are not able to get back on the horse again, to feel fluent in it. And you say, I'm just not going to do it again. It's just wasting my time. It drives you nuts too much. And this is exactly the moment your relationship falls and breaks apart. You see, this is exactly the same what happens in your relationship, like with everything in life. If you don't pay attention to it, if you stop caring, time passes, you forget how to be good at it, and then you lose it. And then if you try to come back, it becomes tough, it becomes hard, it becomes frustrating, and many of you will never come back to the same place that you really want to come back, but you're not there anymore. So this is so important, especially for us guys, because if you kind of look at how we act and how we behave, many times we need input, we need kind of stimulant. That's why they say that we are visual in case of sexuality or beauty or whatever. We need some connection to whoever we want to be close with. So if you were so close with her so many years ago when you started this whole relationship, but then you lost it, you had no interaction that kind of made you wanting more and be there, it's going to be tough to come back. It is possible, completely possible, but what you need is patience. And many of us are having issues with that as well. So that's why I want you to see this whole picture. When you paid attention, everything was fine. Then when you stopped paying attention, it stopped being fine. And now it may drive you nuts. So we've got just 2 things you can do. 1, say, I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm gonna try someone to start this thing all over, start from scratch. All you may say, I'll try to be patient, like with my game, like with the computer, like with playing on the guitar, like using this French or Spanish. I'll be patient and I'll come back to that. I'll come back to the level that I was before to finally again be able to enjoy this whole thing. So this is what I want you to take from this video. You can achieve what you want. You can come back to the point that you really want to be because you've been there before. You know how it tastes when you have this chemistry, this connection, this energy, this electricity. This love is in the air. You can get back there. But you've got to understand you have to be patient because whatever you're not using, not paying attention to, you lose ability to be good at it. And then it's hard to get back to that. So just basically decide. Because whenever attention goes, energy flows. So you'll be able to rebuild it, but it will cost you. So think about it and do something about it. Because if you are in a position that your relationship fails, now you understand it. Why? Probably most of the cases that this is exactly the reason. So now, just make a decision that you're going to be patient. And like you've learned years before, now by paying attention, by knowing to be engaged, to be involved in whatever happens in your life, you can come back to positions that you've been in before and go even farther. So be patient. If you liked this video, like, share, comment. If you didn't, comment as well. Tell me what you think, what is your experience. And if there's anything you want me to talk about, just give me a shout. I'll be really glad to do it for you. That being said, see you tomorrow.